section of your MLS login. Like people were like, I didn't even know there was a new trend coming, swear to God. Really?
I didn't know until I got the email.
I don't know, like this up here tells you, that has nothing to do with buyer's closing costs, but this tells you, like I have a new settled listing, so if it didn't settle, maybe I would do something about that. What?
And you can put it in orange where you can see it.
Yeah.
People still miss it, right?
You have document upload, like it'll tell you different things up in this listing management area. I don't know that now that I'm saying that, I don't know if there's any like notices if you have a buyer. But it will say settled listings and then your hot sheets, whatever. But like there's always things here. You have a new bill, you know, your trend bill, things like that. But can you see from over there?
Yeah, I can see it.
Really? That's impressive.
Well, I use it enough, I can tell.
Okay.
I mean, I can't read it, I can see it.
All right, so all of you, I think, this is your second time. You were here before, weren't you, for buyer's closing costs? No? You were.
Those areas have such
I always say, like this, not that I want to teach this class over and over again, it's not that exciting, sorry. But I think it is one that, as a newer agent, you want to come to, you know, more than once. So where you get there is MLS, and then there's a financial button. So for this, we're doing buyer's closing cost sheets. Realize though that you can do an amortization schedule, but you need to know what their settlement date, like you're not going to do that for somebody that hasn't bought something yet. You're usually going to do that maybe a day or two before settlement, when you know what their interest rate is, the date that they're going to close, and all that information. Really, the mortgage company usually gives it to them, but if for some reason it comes up, don't panic, you can do an amortization. And seller net sheet, which if you came to my seller closing costs, I don't do it on here. So I don't teach that class on how to do them on here. So here's your your financial, so your buyer name, Mr. Jones. Or John's, Mr. Jones. Anybody got a property they'd like me to do? We'll just do a random one? Okay. Let's do, so you can either put the property address in here and hope, I'm sorry. You put it up here. See, I don't think I have to put the whole thing in. Or you could put the MLS number in. But you want it to autofill. Whether you autofill it there, putting the address in, or when you're in the property and you hit that let's go to a property. Let's do a little higher. Oops, sorry, wrong spot. Wow, only 5 houses between 3 and 325 in Middletown? That's shocking. All right, so let's do something with a nice even number. That one works. Oh, we'll do Kelly's. Okay, so here's your other way. You can hit the buyer closing cost button. This is Kelly Cummings listing, and then that's going to autofill. You can manually input in here, but it doesn't like it. So you almost have to fake it if you're doing new construction. And that's almost one of those unusual circumstances that I would tell you, just call me and I'll walk you through it. Because it really doesn't like when you don't have the proper assessment and the proper taxes. And it won't if you just go in to make it up. So it auto-filled certain things, and mine defaults to conventional. I probably could change it to something else. So it's Middletown, it's Bucks County, it puts the school district in, it's not a condo. Say this was a condo and for some reason when you auto-filled it said no, you can override that. And just hit yes. It it's only one property. You have to put a settlement date before it's gonna pick. Like, if you don't ever put the settlement date, it's not gonna calculate the things on the right. So we're settling December 30th. There's the assessment. I don't put the seller assist on here, I will show it with it on, but I tend to write that in at the bottom, and I tend to not put my earnest deposit on here either. And I like to, and I'll show you why, and I probably showed this before. We'll leave this as conventional at the moment, and we'll leave it as 20% down, and then I'll make changes. Hi, Jack.
Hi, yeah, I'm gonna listen.
He's gonna listen, because he doesn't know how to do it.
Check every minute.
So it auto-fills your mortgage amount,
You
and
make
it
a
auto-fills to a 30-year mortgage. Now, understand, we don't do them a lot now, but if you needed to do 2 mortgages, say that was an 80-10-10, it does allow for it. Again, I don't really want to get into it because I don't want to bog your mind with information that you're probably not going to use. But if you run into that scenario, I would tell you you're best off to let the mortgage person do the closing costs. I'll help you through it, but you have to know what the rates are. There's different terms a lot of times on the second. We don't do them a lot now, so that's almost like a, I don't know. You know, I'd be happy to go over it with you if you run into it. But I just want to show you that it's there. So we're going to go back to 1. Interest rate, conventional fixed, they got an 800 score. What do they got, Jack? What's the rate?
4.
Okay. So we're at 4%. There is no mortgage insurance, so it's just going to put auto to, to 0. I've yet to figure out how to make this stay unpaid, but most likely now they're probably not paying points. But they might at some point go back, rates will go up. So if they were, it would go in here. The first, if somebody quotes you a rate of 4% with 3 points, technically the first one's an origination fee, the other 2 are the discount points. It's not the end of the world if you put 3%, you know what I mean, if you put 3. And it's a percent or an amount, because it doesn't always have to be in percentages. It could just be that the person has this random $1,500 that they don't know what to do with, so they're going to pay points with it. So you could put 3% in here, or not. Maybe you can't. And it's not the end of the world that you have it the wrong thing. It's the end of the world for the mortgage company to do it the wrong way, but it's not the end of the world for us. The numbers are going to work. We're going to go back to 0 because that mortgage company would be making a lot of money if that was the case. Appraisal is unpaid. When you're giving them this estimate, it's before they've written their offer. And really, in my case, it's when you're doing your initial consultation with them. You should be sitting down, getting them pre-approved. Sit in the pre-approval if you can. Don't lose your mind if you can't. But it's to your benefit to see what happens during that joyous hour of getting pre-approved. And I am then getting them to sign the buyer agency contract and the consumer notice. And I'm going over closing costs in that price range and scenario, which the mortgage person is telling them that they're pre-approved for. So I'm showing them.
You'll actually learn some of the mortgage legal by
Yeah.
osmosis.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I learned it. So they have not paid any of these things. So they haven't paid their appraisal. Now, there's only certain things that have prepaid or unpaid. And it's appraisal, homeowner's insurance, home inspection, termite radon, septic, and attorney fee. I have changed these, and I see some of you have computers, so I'll go into where you could change your preferences and change the numbers, because your numbers may be different than my numbers. Your default numbers, I should say. I have upped them because it costs money to get a mortgage, and I don't like the numbers that they put out there. So is it still 25 for a credit report?
No, it's more than that now.
Like,
You're probably around $50.
okay. So I'll change that in my default. I think I could change that one. Doc prep, I up to 300. Underwriting, I up to 300. Flood search, 50. Tax escrow service fee, 125. Courier and wire. And I tell them when I'm going through and explaining it to them that these aren't a specific mortgage company's fees. These are generic fees, and they may be more or less, but, you know, I just try to give them a good ballpark.
A lot of the mortgage companies are now starting to do debt monitoring, that's why I was saying $50, between the credit report and the debt
Right,
monitoring.
yeah. Transfer tax in Bucks County, it's a 1%. If you're selling a foreclosure, you want to confirm whether or not the bank is paying the transfer tax, because often they do not. So often the buyer has to pay both sides of the transfer tax. So then you could change that to 2. It does allow you to change it.
Philadelphia's too also.
Well, Philadelphia will default,
Oh, well,
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. It didn't used to. Recording the deed and mortgage, I upped those, I believe. Like, what, are you in closing costs?
I am.
What's it saying on yours for deed?
Mine are like all zeros, and I'm now changing them to what year.
Okay.
You're building a template now, is what you're doing?
I certainly am.
Yeah. Good call.
Sure, else I am.
Yeah, because recording the mortgage and the deed, it has to do with how many pages are in the mortgage. And this is why I say if you do an 80-10-10 or an 80-20, which is 2 mortgages, you're doing 2 deed recording, or 2 mortgage recordings, not 2 deed recordings. There's things that the mortgage company is going to be more familiar with than you are, having not done it before. Even myself, I've done them, but I have to constantly second guess myself on it.
If you're doing a second mortgage, if you're doing a template and you wanna put that in there, put like $750 in for a second mortgage.
They're not, they're probably, I mean, I don't,
Yeah. Just
there's not too many of them out there, so just call me.
Yeah, always.
I have no problem. I sit on the phone and go through it with people. I write my number down. 215. Kate knows it. 275 3386. I have no problem. I've done this numerous times with people. Homeowners, unpaid. It's not paid today, is it? Nope. So I would put $300,000 house. I would put $1,200 for homeowners insurance. Again, could be more or less than that. I tell them, but it's not my job to, get your insurance. You do it through whoever you want. Feel free to call your company, and they can call and get estimates as they're looking, just to get a real ballpark. Because if you've got somebody that's like a VA and they go through USAA, that could be $500. And there's vast differences. Home warranty, if the buyer is paying for home warranty, you would add it here. Home inspection, termite, pest, and radon. So I switched these to unpaid because they have not paid them. Not everybody puts these on their closing costs, but my feeling is you put on the closing costs everything that it costs to buy the house. Especially if you're dealing with somebody who's really tight on funds. That's an important thing to know where every dollar is coming from and going. Now, water inspection, septic inspection, only if it has private water and sewer. And I would make them unpaid also. And attorney's fee, if they have a separate attorney. So now, this one does not have an association, so we're not going to add anything there. Title insurance, it defaults for you, so you don't have to think real hard. But I will tell you, the numbers, I've tried to go through this with Steve, because I don't know that the numbers exactly jive. But it's sale, non-sale. I don't know why you would be doing a non-sale, like that's a refi, really. So it does change the number though, see how it went down? Not sure why you would be doing a closing cost for that. And then there's 3 endorsements that go along with the policy because this is a normal conventional fixed rate mortgage, there's not something added. If we went to an adjustable rate mortgage, if I hit this, which you're not going to see too many arms right now either. I added it, see how it added another endorsement?
Yeah.
Because the mortgage company requires it. And when people ask, I don't give them a great explanation of what those are for. I'm sure I could find it. But I look at it, I have no problem giving them Beth or Tammy's number to really explain what all the endorsements are for. I look at it as, you're getting a mortgage, the mortgage company requires it. You need the title insurance, and then the 3 endorsements that go along with it are required by the mortgage companies. You're not going to get it without it, so. I don't explain what each endorsement means.
The commission paid by buyer, the 275, that's your flat fee commission.
That is my flat fee commission,
Okay.
and that is mine, that isn't
Yeah.
yours, like you could put
Right.
whatever number you deem appropriate. I don't go big there. Maybe I should. It already calculates the lender escrows and the buyer reimbursements to the seller based on your settlement date of 12/30. Now, I will tell you, if you try to manually do this and don't put a property in there, I don't even care if it's the right property, but if you don't put a property in there and have this all set up, these numbers won't show up. So, like, what's really, the most complicated, I think, is new construction. And there's a lot of it. And I just did one in Ben Salem, the ones by the mall, kind of, the townhouses. So I actually found another property in Ben Salem that had similar taxes as to what they were stating the taxes were going to be. Because you can't put the property address, and the property address has no taxes. It's land only. I mean, it's like $500. But there isn't going to be, it's hard to do because you're not reimbursing the seller on the value of the today's taxes. So you have to manipulate it a lot on new. Everything else you should be fine. All right, so then we hit preview report. And there's your report. Now the reason I don't add escrows and I don't add seller assist is because I want this bottom number, this 77,625, to be the only number that they look at. That's how much it costs to buy the house. 20% down, assuming they offer full price, because it defaults to the full price. I would write in here, after I print it, I would write in here, I would probably do 77,650 minus whatever their assist was, if they were asking for assist, 3% assist. And then I would show that number, and then I would say, well, when you give me your total deposit of $10,000 or whatever we've deemed, I would subtract that out so that they could see that the money's going to be coming out. But I want them to focus on that 77,000 number because I want them to see that that's what it actually costs. When I change it and do seller assist and put it in there, and it shows up, I just find it confusing. And realize I don't print these in color. That might be part of the other thing. I don't print them in color. So if I put 3% here, and I change, let's just change this, I won't change everything. So I made the homeowners unpaid and I put a 10,000 deposit in. So now we're going to be looking at 57. So it depends on how you think about it. Like some people could be like, oh, I don't really want them to see the big number. I really do want them to see the big number.
Yeah.
So where'd the big number go? It's not there. So the big number to them now is 68,355 because they got 3% assist. That's 9270. To me, that's the people that say to you, I paid full price. Well, they didn't pay full price. They paid full price minus 9270. So they very easily, if I do it this way, they have very easily forgotten that the seller's paying part of the cost. I want them to see that seller is not getting 309 or whatever number they were asking for this house. You know, they paid, that's a real cost to the seller. So now I have the 10,000 deposit and then this prepaid thing. So they don't really know how, like they're never going to look at that 68 number again. I want to be the bottom number. I want that on there, and then I just write it. So, you know, people do it this way, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you know, you're in my class. Like if somebody, you know, somebody else could be like, oh, put it all in here so don't forget, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I like it my way, you know, to be. It's just easier for me to explain. So now I will revise this as I go along with people because if they tell me, oh, I got my homeowners, and I ask them, did you call? Because that's part of their 10-day or 14-day doing their inspections and all that. They should have been calling to get their quote on homeowners. They don't have to secure it, but they do have to get their quotes to make sure they can get it at a reasonable cost. Say they get it for $961. I'm gonna revise their closing costs because that changes the numbers. Say they get it for 1,500, I'm really gonna revise it because now it's gonna change their payment. The other way. So we're gonna go back to, where did I do, unpaid. Now, let's say this buyer has that 77,000, right, was the original number. Let's get rid of the assist. Get rid of the deposit. We're back to 77. Say they have it, but that's like really all they have. So that's maybe why they would ask for seller assist. But what if, the house is sound, but it's ugly? And this is why I like to do these when we're at my initial meeting, because then I really get a feel for how much money they have. So they have the money, but now we found this special house that they just love everything about it, they love where it is, whatever, but they just hate that kitchen and they can't live with it. Well, maybe they can put less money down. Maybe we can do it at 10% down. And look, they only need 47,000. Their payment's gonna go up, so, that only works if they're qualified for the difference in payment. Because now they have private mortgage insurance of $143 a month. What was the payment on the other one? Anybody remember?
On which one?
On the 20% down. I mean, I could do it too, I can go back.
100 for homeowners insurance?
No, I'm
Yeah,
looking
it's
at
okay.
this. So now it's 1787 as opposed to
Oh, yeah.
10% down, which now is 2,079. So for $300 a month, if they put the 20% down, they just can't live with that kitchen any other way. It's gonna cost them more than $300 a month to do that kitchen. They got $30,000 left in their pocket doing it this way. So it may be worth it to them. Original plan was, I only wanna do it this way, but maybe they can get into a neighborhood they didn't want with the ugly kitchen, and they can be happy by keeping some money. Now, what if they really need more money, because this house is really ugly but in great shape? Well, maybe we can let's go to 5%, see what we do there. And they might be okay with that. Now again, your mortgage person has to have them pre-approved for this number. We can't just willy-nilly change that, but now we're at $22.39 a month, and they only need 31,000. They have a lot of money left over. Now we can get carpets and maybe some siding or some, who knows? Now again, you don't always have free reign with your buyers like this. I have the perfect buyer here, just so we know. We've got 800 scores. They make $200,000.
And he got a lot of money too.
They got money, but they only have 77,000. They don't have more. We'd love to turn them into cash buyer, but we can't do that because they don't have all that money. But they could go FHA. Now they might not like this as much.
And
Because-
what could they do, Emily? Tell the truth, what could they do? 2 or 3K, she's doing something.
Oh, yeah. God, do we want to talk about that?
Well, they could do a 2 or 3K, but a lot of people don't like the numbers on the 2 or 3K.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're still around 22 something in the payment, but now we only need 26.9, so 27,000. So, I mean, most likely you wouldn't have a buyer that would be able to do any one of these programs, but really anybody that could do 20% and is overqualified for the payment can pick one of these. Now, then you go, because you didn't ask before, which would be really odd. Oh my gosh, you're a veteran? Oh, I didn't know that.
Not right at all.
I'm pretty sure you would know that, but now watch what happens. All these things get wiped out. Where's my flat fee? Oh, it's gone, because you're not getting it on a VA. It takes a lot of things away. Is it right that it takes all those fees away from the mortgage company too?
Yeah, all we get is an origination fee.
Yeah. It's interesting. It does change things. Now, you still can put the costs in for the inspections, because they're paying, And that's what you have to remind them when you're going over this with them. They're paying for those inspections at the time of inspection. So yes, I'm showing you an overview of what it's gonna cost to buy a house, but those people get paid when they do it, just like you should be doing your application and paying for your appraisal fee at the time of application.
Right?
It's actually changed though.
No, you're not supposed to pay it?
You can't pay it until we actually get I know, it's all that, some of those TRID things have made changes on that too, so.
Oh, that's just
Can
stupid.
I add one thing? If the veteran's 100% disabled, then they don't have to pay
Yes.
it. So the only way to do that in that is to put it in as $1 instead of the,
Oh, instead of
What
for
they don't pay what?
disabled, because if they're totally disabled, they don't pay the VA funding fee.
Yeah, the VA funding fee, right.
and
But
that
this
one
system
says
That won't allow them to do
zero,
it.
so you have to put $1 in
Well, I
it.
was gonna
That's a
ask
good
about
idea.
that, I was gonna ask about
Subsequent
FHA
use
also.
is in there.
Yes, I just put $1 in there and that was.
Which
the
would
only
happen-
thing.
Change it, yeah.
Notice how when I go from first time users cheaper VA funding fee, and that just gets added on to the loan.
Right.
So added on to the purchase price because it's 100% financing. So subsequent use goes up higher. Now subsequent means they bought a house VA, they sold that house, and they're buying another one going VA. Now there is some
What's the tab below that one?
regular, because there's differences for regular military and reserves National Guard.
No.
Now, once you get into funky scenarios, ask your lender.
Sorry.
Because, you know, there's probably some other ways that could be changed here, but, you know, we can only do what we can do in the system. So they don't call it a mortgage insurance premium or a primary mortgage insurance. It's just a VA funding fee that they finance on top. So
Actually, quick, okay.
their loan amount, let me just go over to this. So you can see the loan amount. Why did, oh, this, you know what, this still took a mortgage, I'm sorry. It didn't go to zero.
When I compare my
Let me go to zero.
estimate to the lenders, normally where I'm off is with the taxes. Because the taxes are not always 100% right in there compared to the lenders figuring out the taxes. So I'm usually about a $500 difference.
Yeah, well, that's a
Well,
lot.
they go to mid-month too, and
Yeah,
they're,
yeah. And that's relatively new stuff, most of the time you'll be pretty close to the same.
That's why I always tell my
Yeah.
buyers, this is just an estimate.
Exactly.
Your real estimate will
higher.
come from the lender.
Go higher.
This is a big time estimate.
Let me ask you a
That's
question
it.
on FHA, just out of curiosity. If you go back to an FHA deal and you're doing whatever the purchase price is, doesn't make a difference, but you put a 6% seller's assist in there,
it'll tell you it's too much.
it will tell you that now, because I know it didn't used to.
It does.
Yeah.
So this
Cool.
person's loan amount, if they're purchasing a house at 309, it adds that VA funding fee, so you see where their total mortgage amount is here? 316, 416, so that's their total loan amount. If that matters. Let me go back, any questions on the VA? Before I switch back to
I have a
FHA?
question about mortgage origination. Where it says mortgage origination and you leave it blank, that's only for discount points right there?
No,
Because-
origination fee is for the first point. Discount points are for the second or third points, or
Okay.
half of a point or
But you
something.
don't put anything in that?
I only put it in there if I know that they're locking in and paying points. I probably, like, again, we're at such low interest rates that there's not a whole lot of people paying points right now.
Right,
This will change.
right. But when a
Um,
lender says that they're charging an origination fee, which everybody does, right,
No.
John? You don't always charge an
No,
origination fee.
only on VA. VA is the only one, that's only because that's the only way we can get paid on is VA.
That's fine.
But
But
other
then they
than-
can't charge those other numbers.
Right, well, only, most of, every lender should be the same. On a VA, you should have an origination fee or whatever it is, 1 or 2%, whatever they charge. We're at 1% on this. And we can adjust that also to a dollar amount also. In other words, let's say it's a $200,000 loan, 1% would be $2,000. Well, my application fee's, let's say $1,300, I would put $1,300 in there rather than 1%. We'd actually charge you the exact amount. But that's the only way.
But
you can
notice
charge-
then
you can
all
charge
these other
appraisal-
things
You
go
can charge
away.
appraisal and credit and stuff like that, you just can't charge, any other fees.
Like the underwriting and the doc prep,
Correct,
so it's.
or tax service fees, all those are gone.
Let me go back to now see, this may not like when I go back to FHA. I will tell you that the system acts a little strange once you save it. and you start to change it, it doesn't like that. I don't know why. So I'm back at what you wanted, 6%, okay.
On
The
FHA?
reason he's asking this is because, the closing cost is not meeting the minimum down payment of 3.5% by FHA guidelines. So
Yeah.
we're 3402 under that amount. You may need to change the amounts of the seller assist and or down payment.
Okay, that's cool, good.
Now,
Back to VA real quick, VA does not have a limit on their 6%, just so you know. It's not like FHA. You're not limited to a 6% seller's assist.
see now I'm still off by doing 5%. And you don't have to do them, it really stresses me when everybody gets focused on the percentages in closing costs. I don't even like to see a percentage on the agreement of sale, I'd rather see the dollar amount. I don't care if you came up with it by a percentage, but like here's a perfect example. You're asking for 5%, it's not allowing it, so what do I just keep changing it, 4.8, I don't know, until it allows it, like, I'd rather see a dollar amount, because I think when you give the agreement to somebody, and it says,
6%
let's see
seller's
how much,
assist.
let's see how much, well, and often, you know, I look at it as, you're not gonna get it all, so why are you asking for it? So in this one, it worked out to 14,832. Now, the flip side is, and I know people would put 4.8%, and they'd rather see that on the agreement, hoping that the other agent doesn't really look at it. It's a mental thing for the seller. I'm more of a put it out there, this is what it is. So when you give me that agreement, it's not like I'm not gonna figure it out and just be talking numbers with my seller. Will somebody else maybe not catch on? I don't know, it's not right. So that's up to you, how you perceive, you want that person to visualize the agreement. I just tend to like the dollar number. I feel like that when you put percentages in, people, I just don't want people to get confused.
Not only that, if you're doing a buyer's closing cost sheet and you're saying, hey, look, we're gonna do a $200,000 purchase, I'm putting 6% seller's assist, and that's $12,000. So when your buyer's looking at it going, well, if they'll take that for $12,000 less, that's great, but if they only get $10,000, then they really didn't get the deal you guys were talking about when they sat down.
Yeah, because the day of settlement, it doesn't matter what you put in that agreement of sale. If you put 6% on that agreement of sale and all they're really allowed to get in the end is this 14,832,
Yeah,
which comes out to whatever, 4.8%, that's what they're getting.
and there's
It's
no-
not like
and
the
there's-
seller's
right.
gonna give them a check on the side, it's illegal. So,
And you're not gonna be able, yeah, it's just not gonna, so like I said, when you're talking about your buyers looking at it, if they look at it and go, well, you know what, he's paying $12,000 my closing costs, or he's not getting $12,000 for his house, he's gonna end up getting an extra $2,000 that you didn't plan on if it's really only 5% that you're gonna get. So that could be an issue for someone who's really looking at those numbers. So actually by putting the actual numbers in there as opposed to the percentages, I think you're gonna be better off in the long run.
That's like a safe.
the other flip side is, you don't really need the system to tell you. The house is 309, my thing's all screwed up. Well, I know what 3.5% is.
What are you doing, 309?
Well, wait, I have all the numbers, so let me go to this.
Down payment's 10,815.
10,815. Oh, well, because I put the assist on here. But whatever, like without having to think real hard on like all these rules, whatever the down payment is on an FHA, has to come from the buyer's funds. So if the total closing costs, and I'm going to take that assist out just so you can see what I'm talking about. So the total closing cost is $25,952. So I'm gonna do my roundup, it's 26,000, just because I don't like cents. So they have to have 10,815 into the deal, that 3.5% must come from their side. Can be a gift from their parents, can be coming from that other way, but it can't come from the seller. Can also come as grant, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. So 26,000 minus 10,815, what is that?
Oh, $15,184.
Okay,
I didn't think
so 15,000, so right off the bat, you know they can't ask for more than 15,000. But then you've got to sort of subtract things. They're paying for their inspections themselves. The seller's not paying for it, it's being done at time of inspection. So I would subtract that, so 15,800, so let's just say we're at 15 even. And what did they say I was allowed, 14,800?
Yeah,
See, and I would buffer down because I buffer my costs up a little bit. So I would tell them probably the most they could really ask for is 14,500. Because I don't want them to leave money on the table. And, you know, it used to be that we'd get our settlement sheet and we could go, all right, we're a little short, let's throw on a home warranty, you know, that the seller's paying for, and that we're not really gonna be able to do that stuff now with TRID. So, and that was only buffering for, you know, a little, like, figure $500, somewhere $400 to $500.
it's hard
So-
to be an exact science on this, to be honest with you, it really
It
is.
is, because taxes have a huge factor, how they come in,
Right.
and, you know,
But
there's,
that's what drives me crazy, because I'm one of those people that likes accurate numbers. I'll probably be taking this class until I die.
Well, you know what though? but in reality, like it, and we get this all the time too. They want
Yeah.
you want exact number for settlement. When I used to sell real estate, when I did your closing costs the day you came in and got a pre-approval,
Yeah.
it did make a difference. If you bought a house for that price, those were your closing costs. That's it. They're going to be from anything you pay from here between now and the time you settle. Just subtract it from the number that I gave you,
Yeah.
and I'm still going to be high, but it
yeah.
doesn't have to be exact at the end. And once you get to a point where you're going, listen, what I told you in the beginning, are you okay with that? If you're okay with that, it's gonna be less than that now.
Right,
Couple of dollars, but not much.
right.
But it's tough, because
Yeah.
every time you change something, it's gonna change something else. So when that exact science, I mean, you say, well, we want more closing costs from the seller, okay.
So
well,
when do they
that's
pay the
it.
appraisal fee now?
I think it's right after they have to do the letter of intent, or whatever. It's,
One of the disclosures goes out, then they could do,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
That's interesting.
I know.
Now, the tax prorations, can I make this big? How do I do that? I guess not. So in explaining these, this is, I think, one of the hardest things for agents to grasp, and even buyers and sellers. And it tells you how we prorate taxes in the agreement. Tells you a lot of places, but it still doesn't make a lot of sense, especially in Bucks County. Philadelphia is simple. The tax bill comes out January 1st, and it goes till the end of December for that year. It's very simple. You pay the bill, you get credited back, whatever. Unfortunately, in the county, we have two different tax bills. So you have county, this says county and municipal, which is county and township taxes. So that is a January 1 till the end of December tax bill. To really make it confusing, it doesn't come out till March. And then there's a discount period, and then there's a face value, and then there's a late period, and then there's, well, now you're in trouble. But, so if we were settling on December what did I say, December 30th?
Yes.
Something. So, for escrows, which is the left-hand side, the mortgage company is gonna want them to escrow 13 months' worth of taxes. Why? Because technically the tax bill is coming out the following 2 days from now. They're not actually gonna get it then, they're gonna get it in March. But it is gonna date back to January 1, so they're gonna have a full 13 months in there. When they settle on December 30th, they're not making a payment on January 1st. Their first payment will be February 1st, because everything in real estate is in arrears. So when they make that February 1st payment, they're paying for the month of January. So the mortgage company is not actually going to get a payment from these people until February 1st. Then they're going to make another payment March 1st. So logically, they need to have 13 months in there. Now, at settlement, it might actually show up as 12. This actually defaults to a little more, which will cover your behind a little bit.
Yeah.
And in reality, then they do an aggregate adjustment, and it's a little crazy. But the reason being is they want a full year's because technically the tax bill goes to them. Now, the school tax bill goes till the end of June. It is a July 1, end of June bill, which is a fiscal year tax bill. So they're going to take 7 months worth of that based on, again, when they're going to be getting, because each month when they make their mortgage payment, they're going to be paying 1/12 worth of those taxes into that escrow account to keep feeding that account. So come March, they're gonna mail out pretty much everything they got for the county and township. They're gonna send that out to the taxing authority. Now, over on the right-hand side is buyer reimbursements to seller, because the seller's not gonna live there anymore, but they've paid taxes. It's part of what title makes sure of, is that all taxes are paid on the property. So whether they didn't pay them until they got to settlement, they're still getting paid at settlement. So they're only reimbursing 2 days' worth of county and township, because it's just gonna be the end of the bill. And then school tax is gonna go until the end of June 2016, and that's gonna be 6 months worth of that they're gonna reimburse. So essentially, they're paying over 12 months worth of taxes to different people at settlement. Homeowners insurance, they usually do escrow 2 or 3 months of homeowners also, because same thing. They have to pay the policy. People don't like to understand this one either. They're paying a full year up front to the homeowners insurance company, and then they're paying each month their $100 on this one to the mortgage company to put in the escrow account, so that the following year, they're not going to mail out that payment. They're gonna get a bill that says this is not a bill. The insurance company is gonna send it directly to the mortgage company. And then they'll get an escrow analysis statement once a year from the mortgage company saying, would be nice if they said, we have too much in your escrow account, but that's probably not gonna happen. That we need to change your escrow account by $50. Do you wanna have it change your payment, or do you wanna pay it in one lump sum? And that's up to them, what they wanna do. But realize, taxes go up and so does homeowners. So, they know that.
At settlement, in the settlement package, they will get a breakdown of every single month what their balance should be in their escrow account, so they can actually pull that out if they have a question and see where the differences are at, just so you know. But they should have something in there that says what their balances are.
New construction is fun on this too,
Yeah.
because they will get 3 tax bills. I just, she came in, we were like going nuts trying to, it's hard to explain, but, and now what's happening is people almost don't have to, I don't wanna say that they don't have to, but they almost don't need to send in their tax bills anymore, the mortgage companies. They're actually starting to just get it. I always tell people still to send it. But you get a land tax, an interim tax, like, you get all these interim tax bills. It takes a good 8 months for that to correct itself on new construction.
Yeah.
And how your escrow account is set up is very important, because it's set up for what the taxes are supposed to be. New construction does not have a tax bill the day of settlement. The taxes are not,
Assessed.
well, the property is not officially assessed until the deed is recorded, which could take, let's just say, 2 months. So once that's recorded, it's given an assessment, and then the tax collector sends out, there's a portion of the bill that was yours from settlement till that day. Then there's a regular tax bill that most likely comes in the meantime.
Wow.
So you end up with like 4 tax bills, and you're going, oh my God, I just keep sending out money. How is that possible? But most likely that was set up to be accounted for in your escrow account. There's usually, I know I had this with somebody, and I said, there's one bill that I'm gonna tell you have to pay yourself. And we told her that at settlement, like that one, just pay it yourself. It's just gonna make more sense to do it.
And the escrow
Inevitably
could be,
they don't do
could be
that.
wrong on something like that too, because if you estimate $6,500 for taxes, because there are no taxes yet, and then when that's actually assessed at $7,200, that will change that escrow account, that will change your payment, that'll change all that stuff too, so you'll let them know that that could happen too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because they're coming back to you guys, just so you know, they're not coming back
Yeah.
to the mortgage people, they're coming back to the realtors.
and they're really not going back to the new construction person either.
Exactly.
But, I mean, there is calculations for what they should be.
So would a lender help us with that?
Nope.
Or no?
Honestly, they wouldn't.
No, because they don't make the tax bill, so it's like
Right.
you're
For
putting
you
on
we
them.
would though, for
Yeah.
you we would.
But really, whoever's handling the new construction should have an idea. And I will tell you, a really not official calculation is 2%, using 2%. So if the
Of the
house
pur-
is
of the purchase price.
400,000, a guesstimate in Bucks County would be, the tax would be $8,000. It's not correct, it's not take it to your grave information, it's
It's a good place to
just
start though.
ballpark, like somebody's asking you a question and you're like, oh my God, I need an answer.
Yeah.
But they actually come up with, there's a common level ratio, there's a whole calculation. Now,
It's
if you
actually
go
not
to, like, when I sold the one in Bed Salem, they had a history of ones that had already settled, so I could say, well, what have they come in at?
Yeah.
You know, and it seems to be that that's pretty
In that
much on
range.
target, so.
And
Any
the tax-
questions?
And the tax was actually, I think,
You
have
can
a
actually call
calculation?
Doylestown
they have a
and ask.
calculation, is that way the Doylestown
It's
they get?
Doylestown, the
Yeah.
assessor's
The
office.
assessor's office.
Mhm.
And they'll give you a calculation, it may not be accurate, but they'll give it to you.
Any questions?
No.
It's very exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, just so you know.
Unfortunately, this is where the questions are though.
You're right.
Like I did this, I was showing houses yesterday and I whipped out my iPad and just went over because I guess they were out and why nobody had done that for them, I don't know.
Going back to your closing costs, and I just wanna say, on the FHA one, where we say you really can't get that 6%, Philadelphia, you may be able to, because they have a 2% tax, and if you have if it is a bank-owned property, you're paying that 2% transfer tax, there's a possibility you can get that full 6%, so just remember to check if it's something special.
Well, if it's a bank owned, you're probably not getting a full 6% anyway.
Yeah, well, because
Feel free to write
if
it.
you're, huh?
Feel free to write, the bank may not.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the bank may not give you that money.
Yeah,
but-
just because it's allowed, that's what, I always say this to people, like even VA, I was dealing with
Right.
somebody yesterday. Technically, the seller's allowed to pay all their closing costs on a VA loan. Okay, that doesn't mean they're going to, it just means they're allowed.
Right.
Right.
So, you know, they have to be prepared a little bit too to get disappointed, maybe a time or two when they really need that big assist. The other thing that has nothing to do with the closing costs, but might, I hear from people, and I don't think you guys care, that on a VA loan, that the seller has to pay the termite inspection. I don't know where this came from, he's shaking his head now.
No.
I don't know where this started, and I don't recall doing it with
It
you.
just happened on a loan I closed, and they
It's not
required
the-
it.
They
The
required, I
lender-
mean, I had one where
You
they
didn't close
did
that,
this
right?
whole
No.
rigmarole to
Yeah.
get, and they needed the receipt, and
From the seller, yeah.
who is it that does it? Cause I just had two, that one guy sold two of my houses,
Here-
do all his work,
here's-
so he.
Here's some of the new stuff that's happening. The underwriters are actually now calling for any inspections you have listed on the agreement of sale. They're actually some of them are actually starting to call for it now. So if you have a radon, they wanna see a radon test. If you have a home inspection, some of them are actually calling for that. Now, the flip side of it is, your agreement of sale says, hey, you have the right to do this. If you decide not to do it,
Right.
you lose the right to do it. So, all you have to do is have them say, okay, they didn't do it. They didn't do a termite. The only time you're gonna run into a termite issue is if the appraiser calls for it, and that should really be it. It shouldn't be something where they have to call for it, for an inspection. It's not part of the issues anymore for VA or FHA. Okay?
If it's supposed to be that the mortgage company is supposed to fight that charge for the termite inspection. If they will not, then the buyer agent is supposed to pay it. And I have an email on that
From
that says that from your office, from your processor that states that, because
It's illegal
when I went to
for
my
buyers and
certified
sellers.
military.
But that's only if you did the inspection. What
Only
I'm saying,
if
what
you
I'm
did the
saying,
inspection,
what I'm
and
saying
it's
is you-
required to do the inspection, so.
well, here's the
There's
thing though,
certain
if you
things
do,
that
if
the
you,
VA person, the
But here's the-
is
here's
not
the
allowed to
thing.
pay for,
The-
that's
the-
one of them.
yeah, but the thing is you have an inspection due for your agreement of sale. If we don't call for the inspection, and you had the inspection done and it's already clear, I don't really wanna know about it.
Well,
Just
the
wait.
problem I went through, and this was on my own,
Right,
that VHA requires termite inspection on all loans now.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
it's
required
okay.
to be done, and I was on a second floor condo, so why would you need a termite inspection on a second floor condo, who knows, but,
yeah,
but I was still required to get it done, but as a VA person, I'm not required to pay it. Now, if the,
Not required or not allowed?
Not legally allowed to.
Not
install.
required.
I don't-
Buyer's not legally allowed to
But I
pay.
think-
I think you should be very careful using the term legal.
I didn't, but
when
that's what I was
Yeah,
told.
No, I'm just saying that, like, somebody telling you it's not legal for them to do it, I don't know, that just seems like a little strong.
I can send you
It's
the
an
email that I
inspection.
got from your processor.
yeah, I would see that.
It could be a
Just
guideline,
consider
it doesn't mean it's
Because
illegal.
again, we're not
The only
gonna
things that are really
instruct you
illegal
on
are
what you
fraud.
need to do, but if you did your termite inspection and it was cleared,
Right,
and the VA appraiser didn't call for it, and you wanna waive that and we're okay with it,
yeah.
then we're not worried about
But
it.
I went ahead and paid it, cause I
Right.
said, well, I am the agent, and I
Right,
am
right.
the VA person.
So I'm paying
So I
no matter what.
So I pay it. But,
I'm
and others,
screwed.
but if I had a client that was, I would not expect them to pay it.
Yeah, right.
You
Yeah,
know,
I'm surprised.
and I would bite it as an agent, I would just pay for it if I had to.
Yeah,
What's $100?
but I
You
know,
know,
I know, I
I'm
know.
making 10, so,
Right.
you know, big deal.
I'll check on that for you. 'Cause I
I've
know
never heard that they would say that the agent should pay, that to me is,
Yeah,
that's- I would
I'll
not
look
pay
at
for
email right now.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would not pay for that, but, I mean, I've had them where the seller has, and I just prep them. When I accept a VA offer, I kind of prep my seller in, I may even throw it on their closing costs at the beginning, even if I don't know what the mortgage company's going to say. But I might just prep them in that, hey, I've seen this, you might have to pay for their termite inspection. Like I have one that's gonna be USAA.
Listen,
My guess is there'll be one that says that they're not allowed to.
Workman, right?
yep,
But it's not worth, to me, it's not worth arguing. But it is interesting that it's going back to the old wet days.
yes.
Because to me, if the seller pays for it, they should be able to pick it. And that's how it used to be. Buyer beware. So,
Caveat
Seller's
emptor-
brother is a
caveat
termite
emptor is
inspector.
gone. There is no such thing as anyone with CFPB.
yeah. But, if they're paying for it, I don't know. I don't know what the provisions are.
Here.
Any other questions?
Except you
Oh,
said
let me go back to the,
the pre, like you can actually.
yes. So that is, and you, just so you know, you could save this, you could save this way. Usually I save it as a preview. Maybe not. Really?
Oh, man.
I wonder if Ginny went in. That's weird.
Yeah, just so you know, VA's never gonna pay for anything.
What's that?
VA's never gonna pay for anything.
Yeah, I know that.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah, yeah. They do limit on what they can do.
I'm so impatient, I just
so
can't
that's
do
why I
it.
said I'll just buy it.
Yeah, I know, I'm looking at the wording, and because of some other things that we in there, that's why you kinda got caught with that one, just so you know.
Oh my gosh, stop. I'm actually gonna log out.
But when I went to
I'm
that
gonna do
class, it's the same thing they said in that.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do anything.
Jack, did one, or were you with some show quotes yet?
No, I didn't see them yet.
I haven't
Did he-
either.
Oh.
I'm asking, I asked him 2 weeks ago, I haven't heard anything.
We got time for that yet anyway, so we're good.
I just thought I'd do
You
it.
never have time, make them do it right away.
I've tried. Great, Jack.
Yeah, he's
We
doing,
tried.
if he's doing it, I'm okay. If he's not doing anything, then that's different. But
Yeah,
if he's looking for them, I'm okay,
And
he's
how
done a
long
day or
will-
two.
this Friday, they want,
Yeah, I'll take care of
so I don't need to ask for an extension.
it. I'll get you something.
Okay.
It's gonna have conditions on it, but,
And the appraisal, do you have a report back?
he'll call me soon as he walks out of the house.
Okay, so I went back in there. Probably just bumped Ginny out.
Those are, if you wanna call them notes, or chicken scratch.
Okay, this is really strange. It's like I hit a wall.
What you trying to do?
Get back in.
3 out, that's it?
Well, it didn't throw me out. I took myself out and went back in. All right, so
They know who you are, don't even bother.
So when you go into this closing costs, you can hit load, and it'll pull up everything that you saved. Just like you can go into there, you can go into any one of them, save it, and give it a name. So, all right, so where do I find, I believe it's to change your default settings is, I think, under my account. Preferences, yes, financial functions. Now realize you can change a lot of things in here, you don't have to just do this, you should set up your email to have, whether it wants to send you a copy when you send it to a client.
That's what I was gonna ask her.
Yeah.
Can you
But-
tell me the amounts for the defaults?
I'm not in there yet.
Okay.
What report, well, it's always gonna be a client version, status of listing, like, you can make changes to all kinds of things in here. How you want your contacts to be listed, front, first name, last name.
This is for setting up templates, is that what that's for?
Well, this is just, since I'm in this, my preferences, I thought I'd mention it.
Got it.
But financial functions, so this is where so I don't have it default to a municipality, because it could be anywhere. I don't know what yours say, but appraisal, I know mine is higher than what it said. I changed mine to 525. Credit report 25, you said change that to 50, I think?
Yeah.
Where were we on financial portions?
Yeah, it looks like
Got it.
that at the top. Now, realize if you have unmarried borrowers, and again, we don't care other than on VA,
But
your
you
credit
want two
report should be
reports.
double. If they're married now, if they're not married, they pay twice. So like if it's $50 for a credit report, then up it to $100, if you can remember that.
Yeah.
Well, that's why if you default to it and set it up that way, you don't really have to remember, well, you might have to remember that because you'd be changing it. Doc prep, what does yours say? What's yours say? What did yours say before?
0?
That's
Really?
low.
That's really low.
It
Probably more than
defaulted
that.
to 0.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
see, I have minus 300. And then underwriting, what's it say on yours? Please tell me it doesn't say 0.
No, it said 0. It
Oh
did.
my God. All right, 300.
Almost everything.
Flood
is
cert
0.
50,
Yeah.
which is probably high, but tax escrow service fee 125, probably high. Courier and wire fee, there's usually not both, is there?
No, that,
But again, I just threw numbers in because I
Right.
like numbers.
I'm so excited.
And
for
Throw 'em
then
in
you might
there.
do more when it's lower.
well, if you got something,
Exactly.
if you got somebody who's not, or who just can't buy a house because you're $300 too higher, it probably got
They're not
somebody
buying
who's really
houses.
not buying.
Yeah, we're
They
not
shouldn't
making
be-
it to sell.
They shouldn't be doing it.
Survey, since it's not required in Pennsylvania,
Wait,
I
what's
don't,
the courier? I'm sorry.
I have 25 and 25.
Okay, thanks.
And then other closing costs, what's your deed recording and mortgage recording say?
Mine was at 0. I just switched it. But it was, I swear to you.
Oh, stop. No, something though
Stop
showed
asking
up.
her. She's
All right,
already at
go,
zero.
go,
Yeah.
you know what?
Mortgage recording is at 275, deed
Correct.
recording 0, notary's 35.
Okay, that's fine.
All the
I
inspections
split them
are
up though
0.
because I like them split up.
What was survey? Did you already say the survey?
I didn't put anything in there because it's not required in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Okay, what's next, please?
Like if you wire.
Why don't you move up?
Oh, there it is.
I said this to you before, move up.
I'm gonna have to, keep being told, obviously.
You should sit up front.
Oh, no.
I can't see, there's no way I can see.
Front row.
That's why I said to Tim, he's way over there.
amazing.
Look at this, the world is your oyster. I feel like I've opened up a whole new world.
You did. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Wait, where's the courier wire again?
Did your mortgage recording default to 270?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So actually, I could change that then.
Yeah.
So I'm actually lower than that, so I'm gonna change mine to 150 and 125. Yeah, what am I gonna do?
What are you doing?
What do you
I have 35 for notary.
150 and 125 for the.
I just upped my 1 to 150, so it adds up to 275.
Okay.
Oh,
I
there you
see.
go. You-
I
you
see.
Got it.
Notary 35, commission paid by buyer, and that's what, you put. I think I should change mine. I should change mine to 295.
There you go. Encouragement.
What
Yes.
everyone's doing.
What is it, 295?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Still
what I heard.
$200 below most of the people.
I was gonna say,
Really?
you're really just so, well,
Oh my gosh.
I don't like that that thing's on, but we'll
Yeah.
talk about that after.
We'll talk,
We'll talk after.
Yeah, right.
Home inspection, termite, well, home inspection I put 450, termite 75, radon 125. I actually think I wanna up my, cause people seem to be getting closer to my number. So I'm gonna up my termite to 100.
that's how much it was
Now,
when I had it
what
done.
mine added up to before was 635, so now mine will add up to 5.
725.
725, thank you.
Uh,
It's like my conscience is in there.
I hear that.
Listen, you're following along.
And the reason I'm upping it is because I've started asking, like when the guys were here doing it, and I just always want to make sure that I'm charging enough. I don't care that it doesn't cost as much, but I care that I'm giving them an estimate that's enough money.
Do you know how much it costs roughly to do water inspection, like for well or the septic?
It really depends, like a
Okay.
well, and again, there's two different things you can be inspecting. You can be inspecting the water,
Right,
and then you can be inspecting the well itself, the
Okay.
functionality of the well. I tend to call, one of the ones I use is Franklin Environmental. My phone is really acting up, so I don't even know that I can pull their number up for you. And I save these things in my phone based on what they do, because I don't do well and septic enough. But I will put water in here. I'm sorry, that's QC Labs,
okay,
and their number's 215-355-3900.
awesome, thank you.
And then I will put septic, and let's see who pops
That's
up.
for water.
That's for
That's Frank Environmental, it's FRANC Environmental, and their number's 215-443-0650. And then I have another guy, B&C Septic, 215-598-7399. But when it says, like, when you look at somebody's in your thing, like this guy, I have appliance guy from Ed A. You know, like put notes in there, because that way
Yeah.
if you search septic, you'll pull up septic people.
Yeah,
And just know that any FHA loan that has a well in it has to have a water potability test.
But there's a lot of different things they can test. What I like about QC Labs is, like, you can call and get the information, say, all right, how much is it to do this test? But then let your buyer call, let them order
Yeah.
directly through them, they can give their credit card over the phone. It's not like they have to be sitting out there watching them do a water test, because there's nothing really to watch.
yeah.
But do they want arsenic, do they want, like, there's a whole
Lead,
lot
they
of
want-
things,
yeah.
and they're very good with explaining, and again, I'm not endorsing them, it's just I've used them a few times.
Yeah,
Explaining, oh, you're looking in that area, you probably wanna add this. And radon's very important when you have a well,
okay,
because, you know, for the most part, people just, you know, they might have an elevated level, they get a system put in, or, you know, we all just move on. But if you have a well, you might have radon in your well,
In the water.
in
I
your water.
didn't know that.
So there's, you know, there's just other things to think about, and I'm certainly no expert on that.
I might come straight to you if I had these questions.
I don't know.
You heard her say she's no expert.
So I'm no expert on well.
All she's gonna do is give you that number again.
And I will tell you, the other issue is when you have empty houses that have been sitting a long time,
Yes.
there's this whole other weird thing that comes around, and it's who pays for it. Because I had one where it wasn't empty, but it was an older woman who apparently barely lived there. And that's when they're testing the septic. And the company said they should do the, I wanna say it's a hydraulic load test or something like that, does anybody?
I don't know.
Where they basically come and dump gobs of water in the system to see how it reacts. And even though it wasn't vacant, she must not have used
System.
much in that house, so they said it's almost the same thing. Now, the seller in that case actually paid for it, and I've seen banks pay for it. But, you know, it was a lesson that I didn't know. Now, if you had other fees here, you know, other fee could be anything. Other fee could be, I don't really know. Say you're selling a foreclosure, and they want the buyer to pay for the association docs, like that one said. That could be an other fee, because that wouldn't be a normal and customary fee. And you could add what it's called, I wouldn't add that into your defaults. That's just something that would get added when you're doing the closing costs. I don't know why this is different. Like, oh, this is, I'm sorry, now I'm in the seller's net sheet. I'm like, why am I looking at the same stuff? I don't use the seller one, so. Feel free to
That's a
change it if
That's
you
a
do.
different person.
That's a different, well, again, I taught that class, but I used my form. So then save it, and then you've got your, so that it should default. So if you quick go into, go into buyer's closing costs. But see, if you notice, I didn't find anywhere to default them to unpaid. I didn't see anywhere there to do that. So they still show up as prepaid. It's really frustrating to me.
Can you do a FHA default, closing cost sheet and conventional closing cost sheet?
I would never save them because there's too many changes in here.
What's your amount that you have in there, your default amount for certifications? 300? Like UNO certifications, or do you not have that?
Oh, I don't, this is buyers, not sellers.
Duh! That's right.
But say you were selling, again, something as is, and your buyer, that could go into your other, but again, that, well, you wouldn't default to that, that would be something
Right.
you'd randomly put in. Like, there is places for them to go as you're going through here.
Where would you put, if your buyer was paying for the UNO because it was an as-is house, where would you,
Here,
okay.
just type in, UNO, unpaid because it's not paid yet.
Lisa, what you have for your appraisal fee?
I have 525,
$5.25 for appraisal?
is that about right?
That's a good number, 475 by the number, but most of the time you're gonna have some sort of a reinspection, so they're gonna get hit with that. You know,
I had
and-
375,
Yeah, see, because I think this
I think
defaulted to
it's a carry.
375, and I don't, I'm
And
gonna
I
go
have
back to
350
those
for home
preferences, because I just wanna make sure, but I don't think there's ever been a place for me to default to. Now, I don't know that the new system,
Yeah. That's the new system. See if it changes.
Does it
well, they
say
said there was
what
gonna be
it
no
says?
change to the closing costs. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I'm just wondering if it's gonna save our result sets in the new system.
I'll let you know in how many days?
14?
15 days, I'm moving. That's my moving, that's my moving day. Jack's packing my bags.
Did you hire somebody?
Well, Jenny actually did the
16
training,
days
but I
without a
didn't do
party.
it yet. I'm scheduled this week.
I have 15 days too.
Do you?
Yeah, well, I scheduled it before they scheduled it.
So did I, obviously.
Yeah.
See?
'Cause I saw
Same
it.
wavelength.
Yeah.
I was in the military too.
Yeah.
I'm just a role player. So it
Right.
said, do this, so I did it.
Right,
All right.
I was afraid not to do it, and then I wouldn't get moved
Exactly.
over.
And I didn't realize that it was gonna get like locked out, like,
I didn't either.
yeah.
Why's they moving?
We're all moving
Different-
in
a
the
different
night.
closing
December or
cost?
something.
No, MLS is moving to a new system.
New platform.
Got it, okay.
And so you could sign up and
To
tell
be-
it when you
right.
wanted it to happen, which I'm not sure if I picked a good day or not, I just picked one. And
Well, there was only so many days available when they came out
Right,
with
but
drop down list.
I felt
So
like
I
I
picked the
did.
soonest one that was
That
available.
was available?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But then the office is switching over, I think, December 8th
18th, 19th, something like that.
or something, so. Well, the good thing is some of us will already be on it, so for those people that are all moving at the same
If you have
time and they
questions,
can't
we'll
get
call them.
MLS, you'll have to like,
Oh, well, good to know.
you have to call and say, can you look this up? I'm not sure that I see a whole lot of difference now, because I think, is it Nancy is already on it? Nancy Olet. There is no little abbreviations. Everything's like full written out, like in terms of the things in a house. So that section, the words are more, they're smaller.
Smaller?
It's like a medicine bottle. Why did they make
Do
small
they not
print?
read the
Do they
national
not?
real estate posts that say that, you know, the average
The average
realtor
age
now
of
is
a
like
realtor?
52 years old? You're not average, honey.
Oh, right. So, yeah.
No song for you tonight.
Oh, she's turning that off now. We talked about it already, she's turning that off.
I don't, did I turn that off?
Rewinding to delete?
To the right. Should be the top right or something.
All right, somebody's gonna get nauseous with this.